Kerry, should we put your coat on? Come here. Put your coat on. Good girl. Come here. Kissy, come. Good girl. Stand. Good girl. There you go. We just have to check it regularly to make sure that when they sit down it doesn't pull too tight and make them uncomfortable. So it's quite loose on her, and hopefully she won't get too bothered by wearing it. We find your lead, take it for a walk. Yeah? Want to go for a walk? So nice. Let's get your lead. Oops. Obviously at the moment she's in the boot behind a dog guard, but we do have to practice with her on the back seat in a harness and seat belted in, and obviously with a passenger in the footwell, because not everybody's got a car with a big boot big enough to transport the dog safely. Yep. Wait. Forward. Good. Wait. Oh yeah.
So how's his training going? Well,
She's doing all right, yeah. Doing all right, aren't you, little one?
certainly beautiful.
Learning it all. We're just doing a bit about street clutter and the excessively large amounts of it that we have in Felixstowe.
But like I say, places to go, Felixstowe is one of the best places. Definitely.
Oh, we've trained them well. We've trained them
just
well
the
here.
people, it's a very friendly place, it really is, Felixstowe.
Good girl. At the moment our biggest campaigns are pavement parking, which those of us that are sighted are probably all guilty of. It's not a very wide road, you're just nipping into somewhere for 5 minutes and you pull up on the verge, on the curb, without realising that you've taken up half the pavement, which is fine for us because we can see the car there, but unfortunately those in wheelchairs, and particularly guide dog owners, it prevents them getting access to where they want to go, and the dog often has to take the person into the road to get round it. So we are campaigning really hard for it to be a major offence and people be prosecuted for doing it. I would just appeal to anybody that has to drive your child to school. I know you think it only takes 5 minutes to run in the school gate, drop your child off or pick it up, but that conversation that you just stopped to have with your child's friends' parents made that 5-minute drop off 15-20 minutes. In that time a guide dog owner may have had to step into the road and had an accident. They may have to stand there waiting, they may have missed their bus. It doesn't only affect them, you've got people in pushchairs, you've got people in wheelchairs, but it is essential. Drive that extra 5 minutes down the road and find a safer place where you don't have to park on the verge and you don't have to park on the pavement. If we get our way, it will be a criminal offence and you will be fined, and then you'll be walking your child to school. Good boy, right. Move it. Come on in, go see Sadie. It's best for me in the winter months because there's not people picnicking where I stand the risk of the dogs joining somebody's picnic. But the only problem we do have is fishermen, and I'm not tarring everybody with the same brush, but some of them aren't very responsible about their leftover bait, hooks and line, and we've had quite a few dogs in the past few months that obviously have been scavenging, eaten the packaging, picked up bits of line with bait on them, and had hooks ingested and had to have surgery. So we do have to constantly keep your eye out, and not only that, you get things washed up on the beach from ships that obviously aren't very digestible, so we're always on our alert, especially when the dogs are free running. You've constantly got to keep your eyes open for what they're picking up on the beach. I mean, I've emailed several shops in Felixstowe Town Centre on the shared surface, because although there's designated loading bays, they will pull up as close to the shop doorway as they can to unload. And I couldn't get through with the dog because of the flower pots outside of the shop. A lady coming the opposite way couldn't get through on her mobility scooter. So I took the registration number of the van and I emailed the head office of the chain that the store was from, and said, you know, I find this completely unacceptable that you can allow them to deliver that close to the shop, which would in effect have been a pavement, when you have your own car park loading bay at the rear of the shop. And I did get a very apologetic response, and that they would be issuing notices to all of their delivery drivers that they had to use the rear entrance and not the front entrance, and that they were not allowed to obstruct the pavement area in any manner. But that was just one shop.
We do get cars parked on the pavement quite frequently, and then it makes it very dangerous, because that means I've got to come off the path and hopefully find my way around. And because of the little eyesight I've got, I don't know whether that is one car or, you know, sort of 3 or 4 on the pavement, so it makes it extremely difficult. Obviously another thing which is really bad is the A-boards.
We have never done one blindfold walk yet where we haven't come across numerous A-boards, poorly situated street furniture, cars parked on pavements, cyclists on pavements. We don't have to set it up because it just happens every day, all day, every day.
The problem, I think, Felixstowe shared surface wasn't really thought out, because where they've put the strip that is supposedly the curb on one side of the road, that makes the pavement only one person wide. So you stand very little chance of negotiating without ending up in the road, especially when you're trying to train the pups outside, because there isn't room to pass anybody else or an A-frame without going effectively to the road. The other side is slightly wider, but then the shops say they own part of that pavement is theirs, so they feel their A-frame should be in that bit. Then others say, well, my A-frame's on the curb. Others say, well, my A-frame's on the road. So it's a zigzag.
I'm sure you've heard that a guide dog can only take you so far, and you get halfway and she has to go onto the road because the car is parked on the pavement. And I think, is the car going to get me or not? It doesn't. Or you'll get a lorry parked on the pavement. So it's every obstacle you can think of that appears on the streets. You get the dustbins left in the middle of the street. So it's how to tidy the street to make sure this, not just for me, but for every visually impaired or handicapped person.
The campaign really should be emphasised on educating the general public, because they are the ones that cause us most distress when we're in and around the general public. They need to be educated in some way, shape or form, so that they become aware of our difficulties.
I don't think they do it out of malice, it's just out of lack of thought, to try and get out of the way of other road users, but they don't consider the pedestrians. Whereas guide dog users have the same problems that wheelchairs would have, buggies, pushchairs, mobility scooters, things like that, and you just can't get by. And the amount of times I've encountered people who say, oh, I've only just stopped for a minute, I'd be a very rich man.
Big hug. Big hug. Good girl. And kisses. I'm hoping that, obviously with enough backing, we've got quite a few signatures on our petitions, and obviously a lot of parents are complaining now about it outside of schools. There's been a few incidents where children have been hit by cars because they've run across the road between 2 parked cars because there was no pavement for them to walk on. So I think with the pressure that schools are putting on it, and ourselves as guide dogs campaigners, that I think eventually there will be a massive crackdown on the pavement parking, which can only be for the benefit of everybody really.